Okay, so this is 8.6. We are going to be factoring again, but this time we're going to be looking at it when there's a number in front of that x squared. Okay, so we are going to be factoring by grouping. Okay, so first thing, we are still going to be making that little x. Okay, then you're going to multiply 2 times 3, which gives you 6. So we're going to put a 6 here. And then I'm still going to have this -7 down there. Okay. Now I just need to figure out what multiplies to 6 and adds to -7. Okay. I do know it's going to have to be in some negatives. So it's going to be -6 and -1. Okay. Okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to write the first term. I have 2x squared. Then I'm going to take this, either number that I choose, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to have -6x minus 1x, and I'm going to write this plus 3 then. Okay, so if you were to simplify this down, you could combine these. So -6x minus 1x gives me a -7x. Okay, so these two things are the exact same. I kind of just pulled it apart. Okay, next step then, we're going to put parentheses around the first two terms and then parentheses around the second, or the last two terms. Okay. Next step, we look for the greatest common factor. Okay, so between 2 and 6, I can take out a 2. And then I have an x squared and an x, so I can also take out an x. So that means I'm going to divide each term then by 2x. Okay, so 2x squared divided by 2x. 2's go to 1. X squared divided by x is x. -6x divided by 2x. The x's are going to cancel each other out. All right, divide to 1. -6 divided by 2 is -3. Okay. This one we don't like to have a negative in front, so we are going to make that a positive. I can't take anything out of both of these, so I'm just going to take out a -1 and divide every term by a -1. So -1 divided by -1 then becomes positive, so then I have a positive x, and then 3 divided by -1 is -3. Okay, I do have these are the same, which means I did everything correct. So when they're the same, we're gonna write it one time. And then you see how you kind of have these like leftover terms? You're going to put that then in a different parentheses. Okay? And that is your final answer. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and walk through it again with B. If you want to start trying it, go right ahead. Okay, so I want to have 4 times 5, which is 20. And then I'm going to have this -9. Okay, I know that they're both going to be negative because this is a negative and it has to be a positive. So what multiplies to 20 and adds to 9? That would be 4 and 5. So -4 times -5 is 20, and -4 plus a -5 is -9. Okay, so I write my first term. I have 4w squared. Then I write either one, doesn't matter. So then I would have -4w minus 5w. And then I have this plus 5. Group the first two. Group the last two. Okay, I look for a greatest common factor. So I can take out a 4 from both of them. And I can also take a w out of both of them. And divide each term then by 4w. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. And then w squared divided by w is w. -4 divided by 4 is -1. And then I have the w and the w, which go to 1. Okay, so I don't like a negative, so I know I'm going to be taking out a negative. And then I can also take a 5 out of both of them. So I'm going to be taking out a -5. So -5, -5. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is a positive 1. And then I have the W. And then 5 divided by negative 5 is a negative 1. If my parentheses match, we did everything correct. So then I would have to write it once. So W minus 1. And then I write the leftovers. So 4W minus 5. And that is my final answer. Okay. If you want to try C, you can. We are going to be practicing this a little bit more. So I will just write the answer. I won't go through that work though. It's going to be 5R minus 1 and then R minus 1 should be the final result. Okay. Okay, so let's look at example 2 then. I have 3n squared plus 14n minus 5. We're going to do the same idea. We're going to do 3 times negative 5, which is negative 15. And then I have a positive 14. Okay, so because this is negative, I know one of them is going to be negative and one of them is going to be positive. So you just have to figure out what multiplies to negative 15 and adds to 14. So it would be 15 and negative 1. 15 times negative 1 is negative 15. And 15 plus a negative 1 is 14. Okay. I write my first term. I have 3n squared. Then I have a positive 15n. Then a negative 1n. And then the minus 5. Okay. So this 14n is the same thing as 15n minus 1. I group the first two, group the last two. Now we're going to look for a greatest common factor. So I can take a 3 out of both of those. And I can also take an n out of both of those. So divide by 3n, divide by 3n. Okay, so 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then n squared divided by n is n. So I'm just going to erase the 1 because we really don't need it there. Okay, 15 divided by 3 is 5, and then n divided by n is 1, so we don't have to write that. Or, yeah, it kind of goes away. Okay, we don't like a negative, so we are going to take out a negative. I can't take anything out of those again, so I'm just going to take out a negative 1. Okay, negative 1 divided by negative 1 is a positive 1, and then I have an n. And then negative 5 divided by negative 1 is a positive 5. Okay. My parentheses do match, so I'm going to write that one time. And then I write my leftovers. So I have 3n minus 1. And then that should be your final answer. Okay, so try out B and then see if you guys get the same answer that I do. Okay, so with this one, I have 2 times negative 7, which is negative 14, and then I'm adding to 13. So what multiplies to negative 14 and adds to 13? That'd be 14 and negative 1. So I would have 2y squared plus 14y. Then I would have minus y minus 7. I'll put minus 1y. Excuse me. Group the first two, group the second two. Right, I can take a 2 out of both of those and a y. Divide each term then by that. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. Y squared divided by y is y. And then 14y divided by 2y is 7. For this one, we don't like having a negative. I can't take anything else out, so I'm going to divide by a negative 1. I wrote negative 1 there. So then a negative divided by a negative is positive. A negative divided by a negative then will become positive. My parentheses match, so we write this one time. And then I have my leftovers, 2y minus 1. And then that should be your final answer. Okay, so then we're gonna do one other example. I know there's a second page to this. We're not going to be doing word problems. And the other stuff is just practice, so we don't have to worry about that because you guys have your homework and that'll be your practice. All right, so for example 4, we can't have this negative, so the first thing I'm going to do is divide by a -1. So then I divide each term by a -1, so this would then become a positive 4x squared. This would become a negative 12x, and this would become a -7. Okay, then I'm going to write that. I know 4 times -7 is -28. We're multiplying to -12. That would be -14 and 2. Okay, so I'm going to ignore this -1 for right now. I'm just going to work with what's in the parentheses. So I'm going to have 4x squared minus 14x plus 2x minus 7. Group the first two, group the second two. Okay. I can take a 2 out of both of these and an x. So it's 2x, this is 2x. So then I'd be left with 2x, and then I'd be left with -7. Okay, so with this, it's already positive and I can't take anything else out of it, so I'm just gonna put a +1 and then just keep writing the 2x minus 7. My parentheses do match, so I'm gonna write 2x minus 7. And then I write my leftovers, 2x plus 1, okay? Only thing, that key thing, is we have this -1 here, so I'm actually gonna put a -1 there. And then that is my final answer. All right, well, what I want you to do is try out B, and then you can come back and check your answers and see if you did it correct. All right, so I know it's a negative, so I'm gonna take out the negative. I'm gonna have then 2m squared plus 5m plus 3. I multiply my two numbers, so 2 times 3 is a +6, and then I'm going to be multiplying or adding to a +5. My factors of 6 are 2 and 3, and 2 plus 3 does give me 5. So ignore the negative right now. I'll just circle it so I remember to put it back in later. So then I would have 2m squared plus 2m plus 3m, and then I have this plus 3. Okay. Group the first two, group the last two. So then from here I can take out a 2m. Okay, so 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then m squared divided by m is m. And then 2m divided by 2m, anything divided by itself is going to be 1, so I'm going to have a +1. Okay. From here, I can take a 3 out of both of them, so I'm going to have a 3 and a 3. 3m divided by 3 is m, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. My two parentheses match, so I'm going to have m plus 1, and then I write the leftovers, so that'd be 2m plus 3. And then don't forget, I do have this negative, so make sure you add that back in. And that should be your final answer. Okay, so make sure you guys get that homework done and turned in to me.